Rappler CEO Maria Ressa says President Rodrigo Duterte and Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg are on the same page when it comes to threats to Philippine democracy. In an interview with the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, Wednesday, October 21, for a special edition of Time 100 Talks, Ressa says tech companies have abdicated their responsibility in protecting the public sphere. Ressa adds, Filipinos are fighting impunity, not just in government but also in tech platforms such as Facebook. The attacks against Rappler began when Duterte's disinformation machinery weaponized tech platforms against its critics and the media. Ressa, who has been targeted by online attacks since Duterte became president, slammed social media platforms for using the worst parts of human nature to grow their businesses. She is facing at least 8 government-backed cases and was arrested twice. Ressa was named Time Person of the Year in 2018 and was included in the Time 100 list of the world's most influential people in 2019. In March, she joins Time's list of the most influential women of the century. The Time 100 event called Engineering a Better World was hosted by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, and featured separate discussions with some of Silicon Valley's biggest critics. With a deployment ban of health workers in place, President Rodrigo Duterte is now allowing more health workers to work overseas. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III says on Wednesday, October 21, he raised to the president the plea of health workers whose contracts have been completed as of September 30, the cutoff period. Bello says there is a tacit approval from the president. At present, health workers with overseas employment certificates and verified contracts as of August 31 have been allowed to leave the country. Returning overseas Filipino workers who went home for vacation were also allowed to return to their jobs abroad. Deployment of health workers was suspended during the state of national emergency. During the earlier months of the pandemic, Duterte appealed to health workers to remain in the country during the COVID-19 outbreak. 5 Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA agents faced contempt of court for faking a drug buy-bust in Dumaguete last June. They made it appear they barged into a house for an entrapment operation when CCTV footage showed they picked up the suspects along the way and staged the buy-bust. In a decision dated October 9, a Negros Oriental court files contempt charges against 7 people, 5 of them PDEA agents, for misleading the court, for making untruthful statements in their affidavits, and for directly impeding and degrading the administration of justice. PDEA initiates internal probe against the 5 on Wednesday, October 21. The first contempt hearing is set for November 13. The US government sues Google, accusing the Silicon Valley titan of maintaining an illegal monopoly in online search and advertising. Deputy Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen says the case filed with 11 states takes aim at Google's dominance of the online ecosystem. Rosen cites the company's billions in payments to device makers to remain the primary search engine. In a statement, Google calls the lawsuit deeply flawed. Google's SVP of Global Affairs says, "People use Google because they choose to, not because they're forced to or because they can't find alternatives." A recent House of Representatives report suggests Google and other big tech companies should be broken up to preserve competition. Progressives claim huge firms such as Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon have stifled competition and worsened economic inequality. Conservatives, meantime, accuse these internet giants of political bias, although evidence is still scant. A post claiming the office of the vice president is asking for its 2021 budget to be increased to 1 billion pesos is false. The post by Facebook user MJ Kiambao Reyes used a screenshot of a tweet from the official Twitter account of CNN Philippines. The proposal to increase the budget to 1 billion pesos came from lawmakers, not the office of Vice President Leni Robredo. The OVP is only requesting a budget increase of around 44 million pesos. During the House Committee deliberations on September 14, lawmakers from the majority and opposition blocs urged their colleagues to recalibrate the budget allocation for the OVP. The CNN Philippines article in Reyes' post clearly states House lawmakers requested the increase to 1 billion pesos to allow the OVP to continue efforts in reaching out to different pandemic-hit sectors.